Hello and welcome. My name is Schraner. I'm the designer and the writer of various gamebooks, including the Operation CanCon series and the Break System series of gamebooks. Today I'd like to do a reveal for you of the third and final book in the Break System series trilogy of gamebooks, The Winter Mission. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to talk about is the front cover here. And a couple of interesting things about the front cover. One is probably very obvious. This stripe across the front that says not for resale. This won't appear on any book that you would purchase. This is just an author's proof, sort of a preview to check for issues, and that wouldn't appear on the vinyl. Now, speaking of the author's proof to check for issues, one of the issues that I identified was how difficult it was to see the blue on the black background in this book overall in terms of the design. So what looks good on a computer screen doesn't necessarily look good when it's actually printed out in ink on paper. So I've taken the liberty of changing the color scheme, and I'll put that up on the screen for you now, a digital copy of what that image looks like. But for now, the book is otherwise similar to what you would be getting. You would just be getting one with a different color scheme. So the title of the book is The Winter Mission by Schraner. That's me. And it's published by Lockdown Ludnaut, which is my own imprint. And it's an independent publishing in early November 2025, I would say, was the official date that this went live. The cover is a soft cover, and it's a matte finish, and the dimensions of it are about 14 centimeters wide by 22 centimeters high, which is about 5.5 inches wide by 8.5 inches high. And in terms of other parts, we have the spine with the title, The Winter Mission, my name, Schraner, which again will be in white on black on the final. And then we have the back cover. So as usual, we have a Lockdown Ludnaut logo in the top left corner. Then we've got a bit of a slug here in the top right. The math says no. The season says yes. And then we have the blurb on the back. An impossible opportunity lures you from the streets of Toronto to the treacherous peaks of Switzerland in mid-December. You can't resist the target, something you thought was lost forever. But traps lie in wait. The enemy knows you're coming. Surviving alone may be possible, but it would take a miracle. Success demands more than skill and luck. You're going to need allies. The Winter Mission marks the conclusion to the Break System series of gamebooks, with branching choices, dice-based challenges, and new crew management. This adventure will test every lesson you've learned with every move you make. Okay, so let's check out the inside of the book. So first we've got the frontispiece and the also by section and the credits and the contents. So within the contents, we've got an introduction, the Winter Mission proper, which is the main bulk of the book itself, and we'll look at that in a little more detail. And then we've got appendices near the end. They're listed here, but again, we'll cover them shortly. And something I want to point out is the number of pages. So technically, the book has 322 pages in terms of, sheets of paper kind of thing, faces on a sheet of paper. But if you're looking at it from the perspective of sections, there's 222 sections in total, which is the same as the last book. Although the page number is actually higher, it's more comparable to the first book in the series. The second one was, I think, something like 312, and the first one was 322 or 324, something like that. Okay, so let's check out the introduction here. This book tells an interactive crime story. Your choices shape how the mission evolves. Start reading on the next page, section 0, and at the end of each section, you may either be sent to a new section or offered a choice of multiple sections. Follow the instructions to move the plot along until you've reached any of various possible endings. This book is the third in a trilogy, and one path is part of an ongoing narrative, but feel free to explore other branches as well. While all choices are yours, Some may benefit from the use of a six-sided die, or D6. Its randomness reflects moments shaped by inattention, uncertainty, or chance. You'll also benefit by having a copy of the winter mission sheet, you can see that in the appendices shortly, and something to write with. You'll be instructed on their use as you go. Every development is valid. Not every ending is bad, and even true paths may lead to unexpected outcomes. If you reach an ending, but want to see where a different choice may have gone, you can always return to your last decision or simply start afresh. Remember, there are no wrong choices, just different stories. The journey is yours to experience, and the adventure is up to you. Happy heisting! Okay, now for the main body, this is done a little differently. So we have the winter section here, but we also have sections that are named. So for example, now it says the prologue, and then other ones will read different things. For example, some of them may say refer, or find the next one here somewhere, rotator, that kind of thing. So in the first book, in the summer job, it was essentially just a block of all of the sections sort of smushed together, because that's how most choose your own adventure style books do it, with branching interactive narratives and stuff like that. With the second book, what I did was I separated those into sort of 20 section parts, stages. At the time, the average reader probably wouldn't be aware of why they were sectioned off that way, unless you've been watching all of these videos and you're sort of, learning about the behind the scenes stuff, why I'm subdividing them that way. Well, now it's becoming more and more clear as I'm giving them titles. It's sort of leading you along a path of learning how to use the break system for the forthcoming book. This trilogy is sort of a self-contained little triptych of stories, but it's kind of stealth teaching you how to play the break system game. Part of that is understanding the different stages in the game. So they are named things like refer or rotator, stuff like that. So it works similarly. Like I said, it's an interactive narrative. So at the end, you'll be used to seeing things like go to section, whatever the number is, or in some of them, it will say, what now? And you can do one thing and go to one particular page number, or section number, I should say, or you can do a different thing and go to a different section number. But there are also sections that are sort of encircled, or it's more rectangular, I suppose, but where they tell you instructions, either on using dice to play little microgames that are just very super quick little things to make a decision for you, or giving you instructions on how to fill out a sheet where you're keeping track of certain information, that kind of thing. Now, in addition to the dice, which were introduced in the second book, The Fall Affair, there are some new mechanics, and some of those new mechanics are also in these squares, where it will tell you using a winter mission sheet, and again, I'll show you what that is shortly in the appendices, but you'll be using this winter mission sheet in order to keep track of some information, essentially, about the characters that appear in the book. So again, it's building on the choices of the first book, the choices plus the randomness of the second book, and now this third one has the choices, the randomness, and now building a crew, working with other characters, essentially. So I don't want to spoil too much by showing too much of these sections, but what I would like to do is jump ahead to something that I've been mentioning a couple of times, which is the appendices. So after the last section, there's a section here called Appendices, and it has various other things. So that includes the winter mission sheet that I've mentioned, vocabulary scavenger hunt, neutrality bingo, Retlaw's Reviver minigame, and selected music for a winter mission. If you've looked at any of the previous books, a lot of this will look familiar to you, and I'll still cover it anyway here, but there are some differences as well. So first, let's look at the winter mission sheet. This is probably the most useful thing in the appendices. in terms of applicability to the main body of this story. And in this, you'll see things that are probably familiar to you if you've ever played a role-playing game or other more complex game books. So you can make a copy of this, or you can go to lockdownludnaut.com and you can download free PDFs that are printable, and then you could, avoid having to write in the book, which I myself would avoid doing. But anyway, there's a space here. Every time you play, you start with a fresh sheet, or you can use the same one if you're building up and want to sort of build on your past successes, or even your past failures, because your failures still get you something. But you'll have to read the book to find out what I mean by that. But there's a little field here to write in your name, the date that you started, the date that you stopped, the progress that you're making through the book. At various points you'll be instructed, tick off this box or tick off that box or whatever, and it'll show you once you've ticked them all off, you've essentially gone through the whole game. Your reputation points is a form of currency that's used by the game, and it's used to sort of indicate how much sway do you have in terms of recruiting people, right? And putting together a crew. So you will also see a section, the refer section, where it shows all the different crew members that are available, the different archetypes, and their names within this story, essentially. Who you hire, you can tick them off. They will give you their code information. You can write the code information here. And then the text at various points will ask you, do you have this code or that code? If you do, you follow a certain branch. If you don't, you follow another branch. And that essentially emulates the idea of you have this particular crew member in your crew so you can use their skills. And that's the winter mission sheet. Again, it will be explained in more detail as you read the book. You'll get those little squared off sections that give you direct instructions saying, on your current sheet, fill out this section, do that, tick this, write this word in this place, that kind of thing. So learn as you go. The vocabulary scavenger hunt will seem familiar as well. In the first book, we looked at Japanese because it was set in Kyoto. In the second section, it was set in Canada, so we had French terms. Here we have some Swiss German because it's set in Switzerland. We also have another bingo game. This time it's called Neutrality Bingo. And there are 22 different endings. These are 9 of them. How many of them have you found? You can tick them off like little achievements. And then there's Retlaw's Reviver minigame. Now in the first book there was something called Retlaw's Race Car minigame. And in the second book, The Fall Affair, there was something called Retlaw's Rotator minigame. Now for this third one, the Winter Mission, there's Retlaw's Reviver minigame. So all of the dice games that you play in these books, I would consider microgames. They're very, very simple. They're usually no more than 1 or 2 die rolls, and then you immediately know which branch to take. It's just meant to be very quick, very easy. And in this case, mini-games are slightly larger than microgames. So they're more complex versions of games. And again, it's both an Easter egg, but it also sort of prepares you for what I know is coming in the next book, which is sort of like a source book on the rules for the most advanced break game. And these mini-games, you'll find, will be sort of applicable in that source book. But for now, it's almost like you get a little bit of a preview or a tease in these books, because I've taken all of the different rules, split them up into pieces, and sort of sprinkled them throughout the narrative in various places. Hopefully you'll know what you'll find out when you see it, and then you can keep track of it on this particular page. When you put them all together, it gives you the rules for yet another new game that's not necessarily to this, necessary to this story, but it's something that you can play again after you're done and hopefully have fun with. So that's Retlaw's Reviver minigame. Again, more selected music for a winter mission. We had a lot of Japanese artists in the summer job. We had a lot of Canadian artists in the fall affair. And now we have predominantly Swiss-related artists in the winter mission. In fact, what's interesting is that a couple of these artists have very strong connections to both Canada and Switzerland. So it makes for a nice sort of stepping stone between the last book and this one. A lot of my favorites in here. And these sort of represent the progression of the book. If you listen to these songs in this particular order, for me, when I wrote the book, I listened to these songs in this order. And when I wrote certain stages, I would listen to this particular track that went with it almost not necessarily on repeat, but I would sort of try to infuse the writing with the feeling that I get from the song. So now these songs very strongly remind me of those sections and vice versa. But if you're interested in listening to something while you read or play, or just something that you can listen to at a later time to remind you, then I would consider this to be an unofficial soundtrack. So that's selected music. Then we just have About Me and a matrix. The matrix first appeared in the last book, In the Fall Affair. And this basically serves a purpose. In case you don't have access to dice, you can just use this matrix to randomly just poke a finger somewhere or a pen, and then automatically you'll get a random number between 1 and 6 if you need. Just cover your eyes up. Don't cheat. Pick something at random. There you have a number. Oh, and I wanted to show you this page as well. This is from lockdownludnot.com, and this is where you can find sheets. They're free, PDF format. You can download them from this site instead of writing in the winter mission sheet in the back of the book. And hopefully that's helpful to you. And hopefully this video was also helpful to you in terms of a reveal of the winter mission. If you're looking for information, you can always check out lockdownludnot.com. You can always check out the channel here on YouTube at lockdownludnot. And otherwise, there's going to be 1 or 2 more videos associated with this book that I'm thinking about putting out shortly. And there are tons of videos already for the prior books and for other series that I cover. So if you're interested in seeing those, check those out. If you want to keep in touch or on track with what I'm doing, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And otherwise, until the next time, bye for now and take care. And you know who can help you plan your own winter mission? The sponsor of today. I thought I could do that with a straight face. Maybe not.